As our first model, we are going to construct a simple shipping crate, beginning with the cube primitive. To create this model, we will use the Extrude Tool and the Loop Cut and Slide tool, two tools that are frequently used to construct Trainz assets. When starting any model, you need to take some time to plan the modeling. I find it best to make a drawing, even for a simple model, such as this shipping crate. We can draw the model using a vector drawing program. Working on a Mac, I'm going to use Graphic by Pika Inc., a vector graphics program I've used for years. Another program that would work well and is free on the internet, both for the Mac and the PC, is Inkscape. We first need to decide how big to make the crate. Let's make it 4 feet square. To reinforce the crate, let's add planks 6 inches wide. In Blender, you can use either metric or imperial measurement in either feet and inches, or just feet using the decimal fraction for inches. I prefer to use only feet, expressing inches as a fraction of a foot. Let's add a cross brace at a 45-degree angle, and let's make all of the braces 2 inches thick. For modeling, I'm going to use Blender's screencast keys. These will appear in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and show the keyboard shortcuts and mouse entries as we model. To start modeling, visualize the overall shape of your model, so you can pick one of the 10 primitives to start your modeling. If the model or the part of the model you are starting with is more or less cylindrical, like an oil drum, then a cylinder would be the primitive of choice to start modeling. If it is circular, then you probably want to start with a circle. If it is more or less square, like the crate, you want to start with a cube. Open Blender in the Layout workspace, and in the Outline window, double-click on the cube mesh and rename it Crate. In the Properties window, select the Scene tab. Expand the Units chevron and change the units to Imperial. In the 3D Editor window, use the keyboard shortcut, the N key, to open the Properties panel. Select the Item tab and change the dimensions to 4 feet by 4 feet by 4 feet. Change the Z-axis location to 2 feet so that the crate sits on the grid. With the crate selected, use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl plus the A key to open the Apply Transformations menu and select Rotation and Scale to apply the transformations. You will see the scale change from 0.610 to 1.000. It is important to do, as not normalizing rotation and scale after making changes can adversely affect later steps in modeling and texturing. This might be a good time to save your work. Saving often allows you to go back and recover should you make a mistake. Create a project folder. I called mine Crate. Select the File menu, then Save As, and name your file Crate01. By adding a number to the file, next time you save your file, you can incrementally increase the file number with the number pad plus key. To create the reinforcing boards, we are going to add some loop cuts to the crate using the Loop Cut and Slide tool. In Edit mode, the Loop Cut and Slide tool splits a loop of faces by inserting a new loop of edges. The process has two steps. The first step is to move the cursor close to the edge to be cut. A yellow line will appear where the cut is to be made. You click with the leftmost button to make the cut. The second step is to slide the loop of edges by dragging the mouse. To confirm the action, you click the leftmost button again. If you change your mind and want to abort the action, you can click the rightmost button any time before confirming the cut. You can also undo the action by selecting the Undo keyboard shortcut, Command plus the Z key. Since we want to position the loops accurately and at the same position on all sides, we are first going to turn on Edge Length, which will allow us to view the distances between edges. In the 3D Editor window and Object mode, select the crate, then switch to Edit mode, keyboard shortcut, the Tab key. Click the Overlay chevron, and under Measurements, check the Edge Length box. Switch to Edge Selection mode, keyboard shortcut, the 2 key. With the crate selected, the edge lengths will now be visible. Switch to Front View, keyboard shortcut, number pad 1 key. Now we are ready to add our first loop cut. Invoke the Loop Cut and Slide tool with the keyboard shortcut Ctrl plus the R key. If you move the mouse cursor up near the top face of the crate, you will see a vertical yellow line appear. Click the leftmost button to insert a loop of edges. The line will turn orange. Now drag the loop to the left until it is near 0.5 feet from the left side of the face. You can better control the movement of the loop by zooming in. Hold down the Shift key while dragging will allow you to move the loop in smaller increments. If you have let go of the loop, you can move it again using the keyboard shortcut, the G key, followed by the G key, and dragging. If the loop is no longer selected, that is orange, select it again with the keyboard shortcut Shift plus Alt plus leftmost button. Then move it using the keyboard shortcut the G key followed by the G key. When the loop is in the correct position, click the leftmost button or Enter to confirm the move. Now let's add a second loop cut. Hover the mouse cursor over the front face of the crate. Invoke the Loop Cut and Slide tool with the keyboard shortcut Ctrl plus the R key. Move the mouse cursor up near the top face of the crate. You will see a vertical yellow line appear. Click with the leftmost button to insert a loop of edges. The line will turn orange. Now drag the loop to the right until it is 0.5 feet from the right side of the face. When the loop is in the correct position, click the leftmost button to confirm the move. Now add 2 horizontal loop cuts. Position them 0.5 feet from the top and bottom of the face. Switch to right side view by selecting the keyboard shortcut number pad 3 key. Add 2 more vertical loop cuts and position them 0.5 feet from either side. This would be a good time to save your work. Select the File menu, then Save As. Hover the mouse cursor over the File Browser window and change Crate01.blend to Crate02.blend by selecting the keyboard shortcut the number pad plus key, and then save. The Extrude tool can be used to thrust out or push in a selected face. The keyboard shortcut is the E key. Usually one wants to confine the extrusion to the axis, so after selecting the E key, a blue line will appear showing the normal to the face. You can then enter a number for a specified distance. The action is confirmed using the left mouse button or Enter. We are now going to use the Extrude tool to indent the faces of the crate. Switch to face selection mode. Invoke the Extrude tool using the keyboard shortcut the E key. Select the top face and enter -0.167 to indent the top face 2 inches. Repeat the process to indent all of the faces except the bottom. Select the bottom faces and delete them, as they will not be seen when the crate is sitting on the ground. This would be a good time to save your work. Select the File menu, then Save As. Hover the mouse cursor over the 3D editor window and change Crate02.blend to Crate03.blend by selecting the keyboard shortcut the number pad plus key and then selecting the Save As button. Now let's tackle the cross bracing. We can use a couple of the faces of one of the reinforcing planks to start modeling the cross brace. Switch to front view and rotate the crate slightly to the left. Still in edit mode and face selection mode, select the two faces of the left side reinforcing plank. Duplicate the faces using the keyboard shortcut, the Shift key plus the D key, then the Enter key. Separate the duplicate from the crate with the keyboard shortcut, the P key, and in the pop-up menu, select Selection. Switch to Object mode. Select and rename the new mesh Crate 001 to Cross 01. In the outline window, hide the crate mesh. To add a second side to the Cross 01 plank, switch to Edit mode and Edge Selection mode. Turn on Snapping and select Vertex as the target. Select the long edge of the wide face and extrude it on the y-axis, snapping it to the corner vertex of the narrow face. Toggle off snapping and set the view back to front view, keyboard shortcut number pad 1 key. Notice that the origin of the Cross 01 mesh is still at the center of the crate. Let's move it to the center of the large face. Switch to Face Selection mode, keyboard shortcut the 3 key. Select the face and move the 3D cursor to the face, keyboard shortcut Shift plus the S key, then select Cursor to Selected. Switch to Object mode, and in the Object menu, select Set Origin and then Origin to 3D Cursor. Hide the Cross 01 mesh and unhide and select the crate mesh. In Edit mode, select the faces of two front side planks. And move the 3D cursor to their center. Keyboard shortcut Shift plus the S key, then select Cursor to Selected. Unhide the Cross 01 mesh, and in Object mode, select it and move it to the 3D cursor. Keyboard shortcut Shift plus the S key, then select Selection to Cursor. Now rotate the Cross 01 mesh 45 degrees on the y-axis, using the keyboard shortcuts the R key, then the Y key, and entering 45. Now we need to lengthen the cross brace. Switch to Edit mode and Edge Selection mode. Select Local Transformation Orientation and select the Move widget. Select the three edges of one end of the cross brace and move them until they are within the supporting braces by dragging the blue arrow. Select the three edges of the other end of the cross brace and move them until they are within the supporting braces by dragging the blue arrow. So that the surfaces are not right on top of each other, switch to Object mode. Reselect the Move widget, and with the cross brace selected, drag the green arrow to move the brace inward slightly. This would be a good time to save your work. Select the File menu, then Save As. Hover the mouse cursor over the 3D editor window and change Crate03.blend to Crate04.blend by selecting the keyboard shortcut, the number pad plus key, and then select the Save As button. Now we can duplicate the cross brace to create the 3 other cross braces, and we can position them by moving the origin of the cross brace back to the center of origin of the crate. Let's move the origin of the cross brace first. Select the crate and move the 3D cursor to the origin of the crate. Keyboard shortcut Shift plus the S key. Then select Cursor to Selected. Select the cross brace and move its origin to the cursor by selecting Object Menu, then Set Origin, then Origin to 3D Cursor. Now we can duplicate and position the other cross braces. Select the cross brace and duplicate it. Keyboard shortcut Shift plus the D key, then select Enter. Rename the mesh Cross 02. With the transformation orientation set back to global, rotate the cross brace on the Z-axis 90 degrees. Keyboard shortcut the R key, then the Z key, then enter 90. Repeat the process for the other 2 braces. Let's miter the top planks. Select the crate, switch to Edit Mode and Vertex Selection Mode. Select the Selection widget to get rid of the Move widget. Select each corner vertices on the top planks and join. Keyboard shortcut the J key. Switch to Edit Selection Mode. Keyboard shortcut the 2 key. And delete the other corner edges. Keyboard shortcut the X key, then select Dissolve Edges. Add a loop cut. Keyboard shortcut Control plus the R key and drag. And move it to 0.167 feet from the top to complete the top. Now remove unnecessary edges on the sides. To complete the crate, we can select all of the meshes in the outline window and combine them. In object mode, select the cross braces first. Keyboard shortcut, left mouse button, and command left mouse button. Then select the crate last. Keyboard shortcut, command left mouse button. Then to join, select Ctrl plus the J key. Save your finished model. Select the File menu, then Save As. Hover the mouse cursor over the 3D Editor window and change Crate04.blend to Crate05.blend by selecting the keyboard shortcut, the number pad plus key, and selecting the Save As button.